What's going on, guys? Right, first I just want to say that this is probably a bit of a clickbaity video because I'm actually going to talk to you about why I think you should probably loosen up on your diet a little bit and not be so hard on yourself. Right, first I just want to talk to you about kind of like what's been going on with me over the past month and how my perception has shifted and changed on a few things. And I just want to give this video a bit of context first. So there's some fundamental principles that have stayed in place with nutrition for myself over the years. Just some logical things that make sense to me. Doesn't mean they're absolute truths and they're not, open to scrutiny, and I'm not willing to change my mind on them. But based on the information that I've learned, based on the knowledge that I've gained, there's some core fundamentals for me, which we'll talk about in a sec. Then there's some other parts of nutrition which have fluctuated and kind of like has a cyclical nature. There's sometimes I'm lean towards one way and then sometimes towards another, okay? Which isn't right or wrong. So this is what a lot of people don't realize, that this stuff, nutrition, all this life in general is an art. There's not one way to do it. And one way that you might find is beneficial for January might not be as beneficial in February. You may need to switch it up. So don't take anything I say as an absolute truth. Sometimes I'll give advice and people hear a little snippet of something, but they haven't gained any context around that one-liner, and then they'll apply it and it doesn't apply to the context of what they're going through, and it won't fit into place, and then it won't work. This happens so many times with regards to like nutrition and exercise and stuff. That's why so many people get so confused with what they're doing, because it massively depends on context. So with that being said, I'm going to talk to you about what I've gone through over the last couple of months, well, last month really. Then I want to talk about the things that I've kind of like stuck in place, the core principles of nutrition. Then I'm going to talk to you about the things that you should maybe consider being a bit flexible and a bit less rigid with. So over the last month, what happened basically, in fact, let's rewind a little bit. About 6 years ago, I had an instance where I had one side of my body went completely numb. I'm going to try to make this as short as possible. I'm not going to go into too much depth about it. But basically, all my side of my body went numb. I went to the doctors. They thought I pulled a muscle. It wasn't the case. I went through loads of tests and stuff. Basically, end result, I had lumbar puncture and all that stuff. Had MRI. They found inflammation in my spine on that bit. And then they said it possibly might be something like MS. Then I started looking into nutrition and stuff, and in more depth about with regards to like neurological disorders and stuff like that. Applied some principles that I learned back then, forgot about it. Then about a month ago, had a similar thing. I had all the right side of my body go completely numb to the point where I was actually struggling to walk. Like, it was weird, it was really strange. And I was on a good vibe with my nutrition, with my training, I felt good, so I was baffled by it. I was like, why is this happening? It's so confusing. And then I noticed that I was pretty good with my diet. I was, on point. I was allowing myself like a pizza here and there and a glass of wine here and there. Nothing to, nothing mad, nothing to warrant having a big flare up like that. Nothing that I considered was going to cause a massive amount of inflammation in my body. Nevertheless, there was a couple of little points where I thought, right, I can improve on that. So after that happened, I was in hospital for about a week. They did loads of tests, MRIs and stuff, and I've got to go back to see the neurologist next month. And since I got out of the hospital, I was like, right, bang on the ball with everything precise. Like nutrition, I wouldn't let any shit whatsoever into my diet, not even a gram of it. And that's the way I've been living kind of like the last month. And I've been feeling better and better and better each day. I've been feeling great. And then this weekend on Friday, I went to my mum's with my daughter, and we had a nice big salad, and then I went to bed. About an hour after going to sleep, I woke up feeling really dizzy and nauseous, and then I woke up, went to the toilet, and I noticed as I started moving, I started feeling really dizzy again. And then went to the toilet, I threw up, went back to bed, and I thought I didn't even know what it was. I thought I'd just sleep it off. Got up the next morning, and then it was the same thing, really dizzy. I could barely walk, everything was spinning. Went to the toilet, threw up again, threw up another 2 times I think that day. Then I was just in bed all day. Got to the evening, and then I went to I came out the room just to say hello to everyone quick to go to bed, and they noticed a big rash down my neck. It's gone down a lot now. There's a rash down my neck, and then after all the symptoms and stuff, I was like, maybe I should go to the hospital, get it checked out. So went to the hospital, had a CT scan, and everything's fine. They don't know what it is. They think it's probably correlated, related to what happened last month. Weird symptoms, completely inexplicable. I can't explain. I don't know why it happened. I was on a good stride. I was sleeping well. I was eating well. So obviously, I was just baffled again as to why it's happened. And then what I did the day after, like I started feeling better. It was only like a one-day thing, luckily. It wasn't as intense as the month before. And then I was like, right, I'm doing everything that I know I should be doing. I'm eating everything I know I should be doing. Maybe I need to loosen up a little bit on my nutrition and allow myself just a little bit here and there. Maybe I'm being too rigid with everything. So I'm gonna admit I did have a pizza. The following day, just before we left for Kent, I was like, sod it. If I'm gonna get ill anyway, if I'm gonna have this fleece flare-ups anyway, I may as well enjoy myself a little bit and have a pizza. So I had a pizza and like a little vanilla yogurt, and it was lovely. So yeah, but we don't really know what's going on with all that stuff at the minute. And here's the thing as well, you can do all the logical steps, you can do everything that you know you should be doing, you can get all the tests done, you can get all the empirical data and draw conclusions about what's going on. But ultimately, I think that if you don't have faith, if you don't kind of trust in a higher purpose, I'm going to get a bit woo-woo on you a little bit, but with regards to whatever created the world, whatever created us, if we don't put faith in that, if we don't let go, if we're too rigid, if we're too controlling over our circumstances and too rigid, as I said, then it starts to go against the flow, the natural flow of life. And I think that I was probably being a bit too rigid, a bit too controlling, a bit too fearful of getting sick, I was like, right, I'm not having any junk, too rigid. And I've done this many times with so many different things. I went through a period where I was fasting too much, doing too much of that. The last couple of years, it's only recently I've started having warm showers. For about 2 years, I was like, right, cold showers, I'm gonna have cold showers every day, and I wouldn't allow myself to have a warm shower. And it's only recently that I've allowed myself to have a warm shower. And don't get me wrong, I think sometimes going to the extreme with stuff is good. It can be beneficial. Like for instance, when I was drinking alcohol every single day, completely eliminating that for a period of time was a good idea. I had to completely cut it out for a good stint before I could introduce it back into my life, in reasonable amounts. So yet again, as I said before, it all depends on the context. So the conclusions that I've drawn and the things that I'm doing doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to fit into precisely your circumstance, and it doesn't mean necessarily that it's going to be the best thing for you to do right now. You need to become a scientist. Science is a process. It's about gathering data, drawing the logical conclusions from that data, and experimenting, and then drawing conclusions from that, and just keep developing understanding and keep trying out different things. Be willing to admit that you're wrong. So with that being said, there are some core principles that I still believe for myself that I'm going to stick with, which are making sure you're having enough decent quality protein, making sure you're having enough fats. Just because they're essential things for your body, you need them. Your body can't make the essential amino acids, and it can't make certain fats, and you need them for good health. So making sure you're getting them within your diet, making sure you're having plenty of variety of loads of different vegetables in your diet. But then, when you've got that as the base and foundation, now other foods and junk foods, I still think things like drinking Coca-Cola and having McDonald's and those really really high sugar, just basic simple sugar drinks, and really chemical riddled burgers and stuff like that, I still think they're a bad idea. I don't think you should implement in your diet. As I said, it's just my perspective. I don't think they're a good idea, because then they perpetuate the cravings and stuff. They kind of really intensify the cravings, and they really hook into the dopamine and serotonin receptors in your brain and really make you want more. You can have junk food that's not that bad, if you know what I mean. So you can go and get yourself some nice venison burgers from Waitrose or whatever, and put a bit of brie on it and make some nice big burgers with a brochet bun. Lovely. Or grab a pizza, a good quality, from a good source, maybe not Domino's or something. Do you know what I mean? Just have something, and a little chocolate bar here and there. It's not such a big deal. You just got to think about, right, as long as you've got that good nutrition as your foundation, and you can add other stuff on the top. You can have anything you want. It's a good principle to go by, I think. Have anything you want, but as I said, it's an art form. You've got to be aware when it's too much, yeah, and you go past the point of diminishing returns. So you can enjoy some ice cream, but if you have too much of it, now you're going to feel like crap, and you're not going to lose that extra inch or two around your waist that's bothering you. You know, if you drink too much wine, you're going to feel like crap. Yeah. So, and this is something you're going to have to intuitively figure out for yourself. How much is too much? Yeah. So you get your baseline of everything, and then you make sure you have decent quality protein sources, variety of different vegetables, and then if you're adding in high carbohydrate foods, obviously just try to make sure better quality stuff. But then if you do want to have some ice cream, you do want to have a pizza, you do want to have a burger, allow yourself to have that stuff, and just learn where that point of diminishing returns is for you. Yeah, so if you're having ice cream and pizza every single evening with a bottle of wine, and you're having that 7 days a week, and then you're complaining because you've still got an extra 2 stone of body fat on you, and you know exactly why it's not coming off. It's because there's a trade-off. Yeah, there's always a trade-off. So I hope that makes sense, and I hope it helps you a little bit. But I think ultimately, you know, having faith, letting go, don't be so rigid with everything. You know, you could sit and make some logical conclusions around stuff, and use that as kind of a framework with your nutrition, but then, you know, loosen up a little bit and try to be more intuitive with things. Yeah, try to analyze the way that you've been over the past week. Right, I feel like crap, I've not lost weight, it's because I've been doing X, Y, Z. You can usually, if you just spend 5 minutes just thinking about it, you're like, yeah, I know, it's because I've been snacking too much, I've been eating too much of this, too much of that. So get as the base of your diet, and this is what I recommend for your first meal of the day. Make sure, yeah, that meal is the high quality meal with all the good stuff, loads of different vegetables, high quality meat, some venison or some wild salmon or something like that, some good quality eggs, whatever you enjoy, and loads of different vegetables, some mushrooms, something from the onion family, some leeks or spring onions or onions. Make that with the first part of your meal, and then have some like sauerkraut or something with it, you know, fermented foods for probiotics and prebiotics, all that sort of stuff. Have that for your first meal. And then for your second meal, if you want like a little Kit Kat at the end of it, if you want to have a little bit of ice cream, allow yourself to do it. And sometimes just allowing yourself, just giving yourself the permission to say it's not off limits, sometimes that alone just makes it like you don't want it as much then, you know? Because it gets a bit boring. It's not so, you know, taboo. It's not so exciting to have those things if you're allowed to have it all the time. Does that make sense? Okay, so as I said, this is stuff for you to experiment with. Don't say that this is exactly the way to do it for everyone. Yeah, you're gonna have to go internally, go into your mind, sit and contemplate this stuff and figure out what is the best approach for you at this exact moment. If you just spend a little bit of time, schedule some thinking time, ask yourself a question, one simple question: what is the best strategy with my nutrition right now? And schedule 15, 30, whatever minutes to sit and just think about that one question. Ultimately, we're all gonna die anyway, aren't we? Yeah, we're all gonna die. The most important thing is we wanna overall feel good. Yeah, you're meant to feel good, you're supposed to feel good. But desire, there's a dichotomy of desire. You can't feel good unless you know what feeling like crap is. Yeah, so this is something that we've got to kind of like intuitively figure out. Yeah, the more there is lack of something, the more the desire for it is going to grow. So knowing that, you can use that to your advantage. So you know, if you love burgers, yeah, and you cut them out of your diet completely, you know that the longer you do that, the likeliness is the stronger that desire is going to be. So maybe you want to allow yourself to have a burger once a week, or maybe you do want to stretch it out and do it, you know, for a month. Play around with it. Yeah, play around with it. And as I said, everything's cyclical. The seasons are cyclical. You know, the whole way that this whole universe works. It all works in cycles, night and day, night and day. So it's a good idea to wake up at the same time, go to bed at the same time, eat at the same time. Having some structure to your day as well is hugely beneficial for all this stuff. I'm going to do more videos about that sort of stuff in the future. So I hope this has helped you. If you've got any questions about anything or just any comments at all, put them in the comments section. It really helps with the algorithm on YouTube, helps this get shown to like more people and grow this channel. That's really what I'm trying to do this year. So if you could drop a comment below, like this video, even just share it with a friend that you think it might help, I'd hugely appreciate it. So thanks for tuning in, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.